So in this video we're going to talk about the Bromley roundabout, if you want to call it that. I generally call it the one-way system because we deal with this slightly differently to the way we deal with roundabouts traditionally, as I'm going to explain in detail in just a second, as you'll see. On this junction, a lot of learners find this quite complicated and quite difficult because it's almost as if every time you enter from a different junction, like a different part of the one-way system, it feels like it needs to be done slightly differently. So we're going to try to find some sort of common procedure, shall we say, to make it a little bit easier, but it's going to require me to move around quite a bit on this video because it is a little bit complicated in places, so please bear with me if you can. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to try and keep this picture in its place as much as possible, because then that way we're going to know where we are and we're not going to get lost. So let's just imagine that from this section with the red car, that's our home position, that's where we're going to start from. Okay, and even if I move around, then we'll try and come back to this position. Okay, so to begin with, from this direction, what have I done here? No, that's what I need to do. Okay, let's start again. So if I take it back to where it was. Okay, so from this direction, if we go down to ground level, we're going to try to use landmarks throughout this video, so hopefully it's going to make it a bit easier. But from this direction, we're talking about the pharmacy, right? That's going to be our landmark from this direction. Okay, already we can see as we approach towards the pharmacy direction, we can see that the entrance is a little bit different. So from this direction, the Touchwood Pharmacy direction, we can see that there's an obvious difference, which is the lane markings. Okay, so as we approach towards the pharmacy, the left lane is only for turning left. So that means then that we'd be in the right lane for going straight on or turning right. Okay, so that's the first obvious difference as to how we would approach and enter the one-way system. So let's come back to where we were. Okay, like I said, this is going to require a little bit of moving around, so try not to feel sick in the process. Okay, so we're back to where we were. So that was the Touchwood Pharmacy direction. Okay, so now let's go to, well, actually, no, let's stick with this for a second. So the way we would deal with this is, if we're coming out from Touchwood, then the first exit would be this one, second exit would be this one up here, and the third exit would be this one up here. You might ask, well, what about this one here? So this one is a little bit complicated. This is where sometimes the sat-nav can be misleading and learners can get a little bit confused on this one, but I'll come back to that one in just a second. But just try to remember that this one here is null and void, it's no good, so we'll come back to that one in just a second. Okay, so now let's move on and let's come now from a different direction, which is towards the Tesco. So this is the Tesco Express. Okay, so as we approach from here, the entrance is more straightforward because there's nothing special here. There's no lanes or anything like that. So if I go back to where I was, but just remember this is the Tesco Express entrance. So let's go back to where we were. Let's try and get our position so we don't get lost. Okay, so Tesco Express. So that means Tesco Express is this building here. Okay, so as you can see, when you enter, there's no extra lanes or anything like that apart from giving way. So once you enter from the Tesco direction, that would be a first exit there. So if that was the case, you'd enter and keep to the left. And then the second exit, I'll get my numbers back up. So that'll be the first exit. The second exit would be this one. So again, ignoring this one over here. I'll come back to that in a second. And this would be your third. So if you enter from here, you'd keep to the left and come off on the first exit. If you enter from this direction, going round to the second exit, you would enter and move directly to the right lane and then go round. Okay, and if you're going to come off on the second exit, you'd start to move to the left, keep to the left, and then you can come off directly on the second exit. If you were going to move to the right, so if you were going to go around to the third exit, then you'd keep to the right. As you go around the first exit, keep to the right again, all the way around, and then finally you'd move back to the left and then come off on the third exit. Hopefully I can explain this in detail as we go around, but as I say, this is quite complicated in general. So that was how you enter from Tesco Express. Let's go around and look from another direction. So this one I'm going to call the Proctor entrance. You'll see why in a sec. So if I spin it round, wrong control, spin it round, and again, there, Proctor, estate agents. So coming from this direction again, as we approach Proctor, again, there's no special lanes or anything like that. So we would literally just enter and then keep to the left or the right, depending on which direction we're going from. Okay, so let's have a look at how we would deal with this. So if I spin it back round again, so we know where we are, back to our home position, but we're coming from the Proctor angle, which is up here. So from Proctor, you would enter and keep to the left and come off on the first exit if we needed to. So remember, going back to our numbers, first exit would be 1, and then 2, and then 3. Okay, again, ignoring this one. So we enter from Proctor, keep to the left, go round, and then we come off on the first exit. If we were going round to the second exit, we'd enter, we'd move directly to the right, we'd go round, and then there's a landmark here in which we need to address, which is the Sundridge medical practice here. So once you've gone round, you've passed just as you're coming up to pass the first exit, then you would need to move directly back to the left lane to take the second exit. So I'll just show you what I mean there, because again, this can get a little bit complicated. So let's start with this section first. So as we go around here, I'll just spin it round. So as we come up to this one, the bit that I keep telling you to ignore, the exit that I keep telling you to, entrance that I keep telling you to ignore, is this one here. That's because it's a no entry, so we don't count that as an exit. So it can be a bit confusing, because as you're driving around, you might think, oh, that's one of the exits, but it's not. We can't count that as an exit, so we just ignore that one. But let's go back to what I was just saying, which was, as you go round, as you approach the Sundridge medical practice, this would be the first exit, and then the Sundridge medical practice is this one. So as I was saying, as you go around to the right, you'd move directly back to the left lane. You'd be sort of where this grey car is, and then you would turn towards the pharmacy, which I was just talking about, which is our home position.